Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. For today's tutorial, sweater meets jacket with a dash of flannelly cardigan for a trendy top that's got style and adds edge to any fit. Speaking of, by now, y'all already know the drill, but just in case you're new, the most stylish, easy to follow crochet tutorials and patterns are here, with even more dropping twice weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way is a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work. I used a total of 285 grams of yarn. That's 1,100 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5.5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. Enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us if you immediately took to crochet or did you have to warm up to it. I loved it right away. We're using 5 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, and treble crochet. This tutorial is made for a size small. You can adjust it for your size, and we'll explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this cardigan started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 5.5mm hook and start off by making a chain that is in multiples of 18 from the top of our shoulder down to where like the bottom of this cardigan to be. So you can make this cropped or full length. I'd like for mine to stop right at my waist. So I'm going to start by making a chain of 54. That's going to be 14 inches or 35 centimeters for me, and we're going to get started with a small sample size. Once we have our chain, we're all going to do an additional 2 chains. So there's one, there's my second. Those 2 additional chains are going to count as our base chain. So then block off that last chain and do a chain 3. Now that chain 3 doesn't count as a stitch, that is our turning chain. Then we're going to double crochet all the way down. So starting with the yarn over into that chain that we blocked off, or the 4th chain from our hook, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, yarn over into that following chain, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and continue with 1 double crochet into every chain. So we are back. We have just completed our row 1. Now before we get started, on our row 2, we're all going to insert our stitch marker into our 2 middle stitches. Now we should all have 2 since we all should have ended on an even number of stitches. My 2 middle stitches are my 28th and 29th stitch. Once when those 2 stitch markers are into place, we're now going to chain 3, flip our work. Put 1 double crochet into every stitch until we're worked into our first stitch marker stitch. So now that we've made our way down with our double crochets, for the last half of our row 2, we're now going to be doing basket weave stitches. Now it's going to start with 3 front post trebles, 3 back post trebles, then make our way all the way down. So I am going to take out my stitch markers now because we don't really need them anymore. Then we're all going to do our first front post treble crochet. Now to do our first front post treble, that's going to start with a yarn over of 2. We're then going to find that next available stitch and just trace that stitch down until we find the body of that stitch. Then we're going to insert our hook underneath the body of the stitch and through the other side, then yarn over and pull through 2. Then from here, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That is our first front post treble crochet. We're going to be doing 2 more, so yarn over twice again. To do our following front post treble, we're going to find that following stitch from our previous row, and underneath that stitch, through the other side and pull through. Then from here again, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then another front post treble into that following stitch, so yarn over twice. Bring your hook down, underneath the body of that stitch, through the other side, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Now our first 3 stitches for our basket weave details completed. Now we're going to be doing 3 back posts. So yarn over twice again. Finding that next available stitch, we're going to bring our hook underneath our work now. So underneath, in through that next gap, and over the body of that following stitch, through the other side, pull through. Then again, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then 2 more back post trebles, so yarn over twice. Bring your hook underneath our work, over the body of that next stitch, through the other side, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left on our hook. And they are worked in sets of 3, so 1 more back post, yarn over twice, bring your hook underneath our work, over the body of that next stitch, through the other side, and pull through. From here, yarn over and continue to pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook, and that's it. From here, we're going to continue to do our 3 front post trebles, 3 back post trebles until we reach the end of the row, and we should end with just 1 stitch left. So we have made our way down with our basket weave stitches that should have all left us with just 1 available stitch. So just to secure the row down, we're going to put 1 double crochet into the top of that last stitch. So just yarn over and into the last stitch from our previous row, insert with 1 double crochet. And now our row 2 is completed. Now what we're going to do from here is chain 3 and flip our work to get started on row 3. Now to get started on any odd number row, we are going to extend our previous row stitches. So when it comes to doing the basket weave portion, whatever the set of stitches from our previous row looks like, we're going to be doing that same set of stitches. So once we flipped, my first set of stitches look like 3 back posts. So I will also be doing 3 back posts. But if yours look like 3 front posts, you will be doing 3 front posts. And also getting started on our odd number row, we are going to be skipping that edge stitch just so this edge can stay nice and clean. So we're going to yarn over twice. Since my first set of stitches look like 3 back posts, I'll be doing 3 back posts. So finding that first stitch, I'm going to insert with 1 back post treble crochet. And since they are worked in sets of 3, I will be doing 1 more into each of the following 2 stitches. Now my first 3 stitches for my row 3 are complete. My following set of stitches look like 3 front posts, so I will be doing 3 front posts. If yours look like 3 back posts, you will be doing 3 back. I'm going to continue to extend my previous row stitches, making my way down until we reach our double crochet section, and then I'll meet you back. We've made our way all the way down with our basket weave detail. We're now at the double crochet section. From here, we're just going to be putting 1 double crochet into every stitch, so just to do the first one, into the top of that first double crochet from our previous row, we're going to yarn over, insert with our first double crochet, and continue with 1 double crochet to reach the end of the row. So we are back and our row 3 is complete. Now just as a really quick tip for this section, each of our odd number rows will have just 1 less stitch than our previous row because we did not start with that stitch along the edge, because remember that even number row ended with a double crochet. Now once we have our row 3 completed, we're going to get started on our row 4. So chain 3, flip our work, put 1 double crochet into every stitch until we're ready to do our basket weave detail. So we've made our way down with our row 4, starting with our double crochets. Now, whenever we're doing our basket weave detail for every even number row, we're going to be doing the opposite from what our previous row stitches look like. So my first set of stitches look like 3 front posts, so I will now be doing 3 back post treble crochets. But if yours look like 3 back posts, you will be doing 3 front posts. So just to do my first 3 stitches together, we're going to yarn over 2 times, and I'll be doing 3 back posts. So find that first post stitch and insert with 1 back post treble crochet for me, and continue with our post stitches until we have the first 3, because they're still worked in sets of 3. Now my first 3 post stitches are complete. From here, we're going to continue to do the opposite from what our previous row stitches look like to reach the end of the row. So just as an example, my next set of stitches look like 3 back posts, so I will now be doing 3 front posts. And I'll meet you back at the end of the row, worked into our last set of post stitches. So we've made our way down with our basket weave detail, leaving that last stitch, and the last stitch is actually just the top of that chain 3 from our previous row. Just to make sure that our basket weave detail is settled down, we're going to double crochet into the top of that chain 3. Now to get started on row 5, we're all going to chain 3 and flip. Now again, since we're getting started on a row 5, which is an odd number row, we are going to be extending our previous row stitches. So taking a look at my first set of stitches, remembering we are skipping that double crochet along the edge, mine look like 3 front post treble crochets, so I will be doing 3 front post treble crochets on top of there. My following set of stitches look like 3 back posts, so I'll be doing 3 back posts on top of there. Continue to extend our previous row stitches until we reach the end of our basket weave detail. Then continue on with the rest of the row with 1 double crochet into every stitch. Then I'll meet you back once we have our row 5 completed. We are back and our first 5 rows are completed. What we're going to do from here is repeat rows 2 through 5. Those timestamps will be linked in the description if you guys need them, until we have a portion that can reach 2 inches past the tip of our shoulder to the halfway point. Now how we're going to figure out the halfway point is we're going to grab our measuring tape and we're going to take a measurement from mid-chest over to 2 inches past the tip of our shoulder. So as an example, I needed roughly 12 inches. So for this first section, I'm going to do roughly 6 inches or 13 centimeters, making sure we're still repeating rows 2 through 5. Then I will meet everyone back right after an odd number row, and then we can get started on the other section from there. Now we are back. I've just completed the first half of my front panel. I have a total of 13 rows. This width is roughly 6 inches or 13 centimeters. Now we're going to get started on the other square that we have from here. Now just to talk you guys through it really quickly, this is one of my front panels already completed. This garment's detail is going to be worked into quads. The first 2 sections that we just did is going to be the length of the piece. Then from here we're going to switch the sections, so the double crochets will now be on top of the basket weave detail and vice versa on the other side. And we are going to have a neckline thrown in there as well, and we're just going to get started on the first few rows together, which still technically counts as our shoulder detail. So we have the first section completed. Now what we're going to do is basically just repeat. So since we are along the edge, we're going to chain 3 and flip, and we're going to start with 3 front post trebles, 3 back posts until we reach the end of the double crochet detail. So just to get started on our 3 front posts, we're going to yarn over twice. We do want to make sure that we're skipping that edge stitch because we want the edge to be nice and blunt still, and just into that second stitch from our previous row, insert with our first front post double treble, and we're going to do a total of 3 of those. Then once we have our first 3 stitches completed, then a set of 3 back post trebles, and I'll meet you guys back once we're worked into our last double crochet stitch. So we have just completed our basket weave detail. Now from here, we're going to do the same thing over here. So just 1 double crochet into every stitch. Now, just as a really quick tip, when we do our double crochet detail, we want to make sure that we're inserting 1 double crochet into the top of that chain 3 from our previous row. If we don't add an additional double crochet into the top of that stitch, we will actually be missing a stitch and we'll have 1 less double crochet than our double crochets from this section. We want to make sure that the double crochets stay even. So go ahead and do your double crochets, making sure we're adding that additional 1, and then I'll meet you guys back at the end of the row. So we are back. We have just completed our first row for the second half of our front panel, and now we're going to get started on the following. So it is going to be pretty much the same detail as this portion that we did here. So chain 3, flip our work, put 1 double crochet into every stitch until you reach the basket weave detail. Now since this following row is going to be an odd number row, once we reach the basket weave detail, we are going to extend our previous row stitches until we reach the end of the row, closing off the row with a double crochet into the top of the chain 3. So we are back. The first 2 rows for this half of the front panel is complete. From here, we're just going to continue to repeat these rows until we have a portion that can reach from 2 inches past the tip of our shoulder over to the base of our neck. Then I will meet everyone back right after an odd number row, then we get started on the neckline together from there. We are back and we have just completed the rest of our shoulder portion. Now I have a total of 17 rows. My width is roughly 8 inches or 20 centimeters. Now we're going to get started on our neckline. So first things first, we're going to want to place this up to ourselves. We want to make sure that we're placing the top edge, so the opposite end from where our hook should be. Our hook should be along the bottom. We're going to place this along the top of our shoulder, then insert our stitch marker into the stitch that we have that's nearest to the base of our neck. I inserted my stitch marker into the 8th stitch from the top, that's just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters. Now since we should all be along the bottom, we're going to do our following basket weave section, making our way all the way up, then switching out to our double crochets the same way that we normally would be doing, making our way all the way up, leaving 2 stitches right before our stitch marker. Then I'll meet you back. So we've made our way down with our first neckline row, leaving 2 stitches right before our stitch marker. Now we're going to do a decrease of 2 double crochets. So start with the yarn over, into that next stitch, insert, pull through, into that next stitch, pull through for a total of 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2, and now our falling row is going to start with a decrease as well, so let's start with the chain 3 and flip. Now just do our decrease together once more, yarn over, into that first stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2, and continue on with our double crochets, making sure that we are still switching out to our basket weave detail once we reach that, and just continue on with the rest of the row. From here, all we're going to do is continue to do our 2 previous rows, making sure that the basket weave detail is still the same until we have a portion that can reach from the side of the base of our neck over till we're 1 inch away from mid-chest. Now we do want to make sure that we're still doing a decrease along the top of each row. So just to talk you guys through it, to get started on the following row, we're going to do our following basket weave row, making our way all the way up, double crochets into every stitch while doing a decrease of 2 into the last 2 stitches. The following row is going to be done the same way as this row right here. So chain 3, flip, start with a decrease of 2 doubles, double crochet into every stitch until we're ready to do our basket weave detail, then do the basket weave detail. Now I'll meet you guys back once we have one of our panels completed, right after we do a chain up of 1 and cut. So we are back and our neckline is complete. I have a total of 21 rows now. My total width is just about 10 inches or 25 centimeters, and once we have one front panel completed, we're going to make a second front panel that is exactly the same. Then once we have both of our front panels completed, I will meet you guys back so we can start it on the back panel. So we are back. Both of our front panels are completed. Now we're going to get started on our back panel, and the back panel is actually going to be done pretty similarly to the front panel, but it's just going to be one entire width of a panel. So what we're all going to want to do is start off by making the same chain that we made for the front panel. Then we're going to do the same row repeat. So our basket weave stitches with double crochets, everything is going to be exactly the same for the same amount of rows that we have for this first basket weave detail section. So for those of you that have my numbers, I had a total of 13 rows. We do want it to be the same. So for my back panel, I had a total of 13 rows as well. Then all we're going to do is switch up the sections the same exact way that we did for this portion, just without the decrease. So now the double crochets are going to be on top of the basket weave detail, and the basket weave detail is going to be on top of the double crochets. We're just going to continue that for a middle section for roughly the same amount of rows as our front panel's second section. So for those of you that have my numbers for the front panel, I did a total of 8 of these rows for my second section. Now for the back panel, we want to leave a little bit of width for our neck. So I did a total of 11 rows, but you can make this as wide as you'd like. And we do need to make sure that we're ending right after an even numbered row so that our last basket weave detail row is completed. Then from there, we're just going to do the same third section. Then from there, when it comes to doing our third section, we want to make sure that our back panel is done in 3 sections. That is going to be done exactly the same way as the first. So the double crochets will be on top of the basket weave detail, and the basket weave detail will be done on top of the double crochets. Now we want our first section and last section to have the same amount of rows because we want this width to be roughly the same. So just to talk you guys through the entirety of my back panel, for my first section, like I said, I have a total of 13 rows. Then for my second section, I now have a total of 24 rows. Then for the total amount of my back panel, I have a total of 36 rows. My total width is just about 18 inches or 46 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to seam everything together. So what we're going to do is start by placing our front panel on top of our back panel, making sure that the basket weave detail is along the top corner stitch because we want that to match up once when everything is seamed up, and that the neckline is along the middle of our piece. We're then going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. We're going to pull our working yarn through and do a chain up of 1 to secure, then put 2 single crochets into every side row, working into both the front and the back panel. So start by finding our first side row within the front panel, insert, first side row within the back panel, insert with a single crochet, and into that same top loop within both the front and same top loop within the back and single crochet. Now the second single crochet should be a little bit easier since everything should already be gathered. Let's do this once more. Into our following side row within the front panel, insert, following side row within the back panel, insert with a single, then into that same top loop within the front and the back panel with a single. We're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more side rows left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up 1 and cut, then repeat on the other side. Alright, so we are back. We have just completed seaming up the shoulders. Now we're going to seam up the sides. So first things first, we're going to make sure that our work is flipped wrong side out, meaning the shoulder seams is still on the outside. Then we're going to insert our stitch marker into any stitch that is in multiples of 3 from the top for the width that we'd like for the sleeve to be. Now I'd like for mine to be roughly the same width that we have for my top section. Now I'd like for my sleeve to be just about 7 inches or 18 centimeters, so I inserted my stitch marker into the 27th stitch from the top. Now from here we're going to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch of both the front and the back panel and do a single crochet seam. We're going to pull our working yarn through and do a chain up of 1 to secure, then just single crochet in through both the front and back panels. So finding our first stitch within the front panel, insert, first stitch within the back panel, insert, and single crochet. Once more, first stitch into the front panel, insert, next stitch into the back panel, insert, and single crochet until we reach our stitch marker. Once we do a chain up of 1 and cut, then repeat on the other side. So now that everything is all seamed up, we're going to do our collar next. So we're going to flip our work right side out, then insert our hook into the corner stitch of the neckline, and we're going to single crochet along our neckline. So we're going to be putting 2 single crochets into every side row, 1 single crochet into every stitch. So pull our working yarn through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now working into our side rows, we're going to be putting 2 single crochets into each of those. So in that first side row there's 1, same side row with a second, again, next side row with 1, same side row with a second, and we're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way up. Once we reach our stitches, put 1 single crochet into every stitch. Then we're just going to continue with 2 single crochets into every side row, 1 single crochet into every stitch until we reach this corner stitch of our neckline. Then I'll meet you back. So we've made our way around with our single crochet row. Now from here we're going to make a chain the length that we'd like for the collar to be. Now I'd like for mine to be just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making chain 10. Now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 2. That chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then put 1/2 double crochet into every chain, so yarn over. Into that chain that we blocked off with the third chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a 1/2 double crochet. So insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. Let's do one more, yarn over, into that following chain, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, and continue with 1/2 double crochet into every chain. Now that we've put 1/2 double crochet into every chain, now we're going to connect it into the base. The base is going to be that single crochet row that we just did, so just finding that next available stitch, insert with a slip stitch. Now that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch. Flip our work and put 1/2 double crochet into every stitch. So yarn over, finding the last 1/2 double crochet from our previous row, not worked into any of those slip stitches into the base. We're going to insert with a 1/2 double. Then from here, continue with 1/2 double crochet into every stitch. Then at the end of the row, we're all going to chain 2, flip our work, make our way back down with our 1/2 double crochets, and I'll meet you back when we're at the end of our row 3. So we are back and we're now at the end of our row 3. Now we're going to connect it into the base together. So just like our previous row, finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch. That slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base, flip our work and put 1/2 double crochet into every stitch. From here, just continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we're worked into our following corner of our collar. Then when we have that, do a chain up 1 and cut, and I'll meet you back. So we are back. We've made our way all the way around with our 1/2 double crochet collar. Into that last stitch, I did do a chain up of 1 and cut. Now from here, we can get started on the sleeve. So first things first, we're going to make sure that our work is still flipped right side out, right side up. Then insert our hook into the stitch that we have that's nearest to our side seam within the armhole. When our hook is into place, we're all going to start with a chain 3. That chain 3 doesn't count as a stitch, we just need the height, and we're going to start with a double crochet row, making our way all the way around. So simply, we're just going to yarn over, find that next stitch, and insert with a double crochet, and make your way around with 1 double crochet into every stitch. So we've made our way all the way around with our double crochet row. Now we're going to close off the row and just do more double crochet rows. So we're going to slip stitch into that third chain that we made. So there's 1, 2, 3. Into that third chain, we're going to insert with a slip stitch, and that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then from here, we're going to do more double crochet rows. So chain 3, flip our work. We do want to make sure that we're flipping our work and put 1 double crochet into every stitch. And for this portion of our sleeve, we're just going to be doing double crochet rows until we have about a third of the length of the sleeve completed. Now this can be completely up to you depending on how many detail sections you want for your sleeve. And I will meet everyone back right after an odd number row. Now I am back with the first portion of my sleeve completed. I have a total of 13 rows. My length is just about 6 inches or 15 centimeters. Now we're going to get started on our first basket weave row. And the basket weave detail is going to be done pretty much the same way as the body. So just to talk you guys through it, after we've slip stitched into that third chain, we're going to chain 3 and flip. And just working into our previous double crochet row, we're all going to start with 3 front post trebles. So finding that first stitch from our previous row, making sure that we aren't working into that chain 3. There's our first front post treble, our second, and then a third. Then when we have our 3 front posts, we're now going to do 3 back posts and just continue to repeat 3 front post treble, 3 back post trebles all the way around. Then I'll meet you back. And keeping in mind that since this is worked in the rounds, we don't need to double crochet into that last stitch. So we are back and our first basket weave row is complete. Now getting started on our following row, which is our following odd number row. Just like the body, our odd number rows are going to extend our previous row stitches. So right after we've slip stitched into that third chain, we're going to chain 3, flip our work, making sure that we are flipping our work, then we're just going to extend our previous row stitches. So I flipped my work, and looking at my first set of stitches, it looks like 3 front posts. So I will be doing 3 front posts. My next set of stitches look like 3 back posts, so I'll do 3 back posts. I'm going to continue to extend our previous row stitches, making my way all the way around. So our second basket weave row is complete. Now to do our third, it is going to be our even number row. So our even number row is going to be the opposite from what our previous row stitches look like. So once we slip stitch into that third chain, we're all going to chain 3, flip our work, and taking a look at my first set of stitches, which are my 3 front posts right here. Since mine look like 3 front posts, I will be doing 3 back posts. But if yours look like 3 back posts, you will be doing 3 front posts. From here, just continue to do the opposite from what our previous row stitches look like, and I'll meet you back at the end of the row. Our third row in our basket weave detail is complete. Now to do the fourth row, which is an odd number row, we're going to extend our previous row stitches. So slip stitch into that third chain that we made, chain 3, flip our work, and extend our previous row stitches, making our way all the way around. So we are back. We have just completed our first 4 basket weave rows for our sleeve. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our 4 previous rows, no increases, no decreases, for the length that we'd like for this detail to be. Then I will meet you guys back when we have a total of odd numbers completed. Then we can finish up with the rest of our sleeve, then our cuff. We are back. The basket weave detail for my sleeve is now complete. I have a total of 23 rows and my length is now 11 inches or 28 centimeters. Now we're going to close off the row with our double crochets. So right after we've slip stitched into that third chain, we're all going to chain 3, flip our work, 1 double into every stitch. Then for the following row, chain 3, flip our work, 1 double into every stitch. We're just going to continue on with that until we're all ready to do the cuff. So we are back. The total length of our sleeve is complete. I have a total of 33 rows. That's just about 16 inches or 40 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to prep for our cuff, then do the cuff. And the prep row is going to be another double crochet row, but with some decreases. So we're going to slip stitch into that third chain that we made, chain 3, and flip. All we're going to do is just a decrease of 2 back loop double crochets all the way around. So just yarn over into that first stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through 3, pull through 2. Then repeat all the way around. So we've made our way all the way around with our double crochet row with our decreases. Now from here, we're going to make a chain the length that we'd like for the cuff to be. I'd like for it to be just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 10. So now that we have our chain, we're going to do a slip stitch row. So start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 1. Now that chain 1 doesn't actually count as a stitch. That's our turning chain. Then from here, we're going to slip stitch all the way down. So into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert, yarn over, pull through everything on our hook. Again, into that next chain, we're going to insert, yarn over, and gently pull through everything. We want to make sure that we're pulling through gently, otherwise the following row will be a little too tight to work into. But from here, just continue with 1 slip stitch into every chain. We made our way down with our first row for our cuff. Now we're going to slip stitch it into the base. How we're going to do that is just start by finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch to connect. Now that slip stitch into the base doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then we're going to flip our work. Then slip stitch all the way down. But now it's going to be within the back loop. So finding the last stitch from our previous row, not working into any of those slip stitches into the base, we're going to insert into that back loop, yarn over, and still gently and pull through everything. Again, into that next stitch's back loop, we're going to insert, yarn over, gently pull through everything, and continue on with our back loop slip stitches to reach the end of the row. At the end of the row, we're all going to chain 1, flip our work, make our way down with our back loop slip stitches again, and I'll meet you back at the end of our row 3. So we've made our way down with our first 3 rows. Now we're going to connect it into the base, and it's going to be done the same way as our previous row. So just finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch, doesn't count as a stitch. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base, still doesn't count as a stitch, flip our work, and repeat our 2 previous rows. We're just going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows, making our way all the way around with no increases, no decreases until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Then I'll meet you back so we can seam it all together. So we are back. We made our way all the way around with our back loop slip stitch rows. Now we're just going to seam it together. Now we're going to do the same exact seam that we did for the side, so it's going to be super duper simple. We're going to make sure that our work is flipped wrong side out, then do our same single crochet seam till we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up 1 and cut, then repeat everything we did here on the other side. And now that we have both of our sleeves completed, we are all done. The last thing we have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye.